So this video is going to be all about the gotchas, the issues, limitations, the workarounds for all of those things, if there are any. And since it's perfect and there are no limitations and gotchas, we're done. If only it was that simple, but it's never that simple, is it? Okay, so let me start going through the things that you should be aware of. The first one is this thing here disappearing. So if we go into Nexus and we do something to make it go to zero trades, so hey, no entry signal, zero trades, piece of cake. So wait for this to hit zero, and we'll take a minute or two. Well, not a minute or two, but a few seconds, something under a minute. And but not instant. So I got to keep saying and. Okay, so we've done that. And now I put it back. And it shouldn't take as long to come back. It should still be cached. Wait, what? Oh, and now it's going to do it properly. Okay, so sometimes, this time it did not do it. When you get down to zero trades, this disappears and you can't get it back. Even when you get the trades back, this doesn't come back. And of course, this one time I want to show you doesn't happen. It usually happens to me every single time. That's crazy. Maybe I can do something else to make all the trades disappear. What else can I do? I don't know. Uh, yeah, I don't know. So anyway, let's pretend that this thing disappeared. The way you bring it back is just click on anything else. Pine editor, trading panel, doesn't really matter. And then click back and this will come back. Okay, so that's your first one. There's nothing I can do about it. That's a trading view thing, not a Nexus thing. The next one is the 10 indicator on indicator limit. So the way Nexus works is it doesn't do any of the signal generation internally except for a couple of very specific things. Everything else it gets from external signals like price relation. We got cascading signals here and stuff, and we generate some signals, and then it all comes into here, right? In this case, we're picking up from the and/or signal router. Well, this signal router has stuff coming in from signals and cascading signals has stuff coming in from MA and price relations. So we've got one, two, three, four, five things joined already. So with those five things joined, yeah, the two MAs, by the way, there's only one that's being used. The other one is just so I can see stuff on two different panels, but the one's just a mirror of the other. So there's actually five. Not that that matters what I'm showing you anyway. So the way it is at the moment, when you get up to 10 of these things joined, um, often, unless they fixed it recently, TradingView will come back and say, hey, you can only have 10 things, you've hit your limit, which is absolutely not true because to use Nexus, you need the premium plan. And I'm going to show you right here. If we go down to the premium plan, which is this panel here, and we go all the way down to the details, and we go show features, and we keep going down, premium, 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 current, and you see it says my current plan. And here, oh God, straight to indicator, indicator. That's joining indicators to each other. Premium plan 24. They've just made a mistake. And I think it used to be 10. In fact, I'm pretty sure I remember it being 10. And then they added more plans, like they added in the plus or the essential, or I think the ultimate's been there a long time, maybe with a different name. But they added in some extras and then they didn't give us those extra ones that they said they did in here. And I have a support ticket in for that. However, if you come across this limitation, please put in your own support ticket and make a fuss because the more people who do, the more likely they are to get it fixed. And, this is essentially borderlining false advertising at the moment, but, they do a lot. I'm not pushing them on it in the sense of making any threats or anything. And please don't make threats. Just be a little pushy, but don't make threats. I definitely don't want to be doing that. Okay, so that's another limitation. That's a limitation that should go away. it's the same as that first one. That's a problem that should go away. The way Nexus is designed, you can only do one trade at a time. That's just the way it's built. It gets way too complicated having multiple trades going at a time. And even though it's, when I say too complicated, writing it wouldn't be that hard for me. I actually wrote it internally really well to handle complexity, but it's already over 10,000 lines of code. Right, the main line is 6,500 lines. The what's the word for it? The libraries are at least another 5,000. So yeah, maybe even over 10,000. Might be somewhere between 11 and 15,000 lines of code. And we've hit limits. I've hit probably every limit TradingView has almost. Um, and so to add that extra level of complexity would probably put us over the top. So I'm not even going to try. So just keep that in mind. It does one trade at a time. One trade closes, then you can open another one. Speed, as you notice, it's not instant, and it will slow down as you add more indicators feeding into it, because the way PineScript or TradingView is going to work, it's going to evaluate this, and then the thing it feeds into it's going to evaluate, and the thing that feeds into is going to evaluate, and then eventually Nexus is going to evaluate. So Nexus is always at the end of the chain, and it's got to wait for the rest of the chain to get there before it can even start. So the more stuff you add on there, the slower it gets, and at some point it's going to, seem pretty slow. Now, sometimes you get a timeout error, and that seems to be happening less and less. This is another issue, timeout errors. It seems to be happening less and less, but it still happens. TradingView has a limit of, I think it's 40 seconds or 1 minute. I can't remember. Let me have a look. I'm going to pull up I have a list of limitations at the top of the code here somewhere. Just because I've hit so many of them, I keep a list. Here they are. So calculation timeout limit is 40 seconds, right? See, by the way, these are all the limits I've hit. This one I haven't hit yet, but I'm not getting too far away from it. That 45 seconds is out of date. I need to update that. I have to retime it. But yeah, so as you can see, there's a lot of limitations that I've hit. All of these I've hit, just so you know. This memory exceed limit, I should mention, that's another thing you can hit. If you keep piling indicators on indicators and you use big indicators, right? So you have like 2 or 3 big indicators. There might be several thousand lines of code each themselves, feeding into components and then eventually feeding into the Nexus. All of that can add up and you can get this. There is nothing I can do about that. You just have to not do that, just so you know. Fortunately, it's rare. Usually you're using fairly small, quick indicators, just putting a bunch of them together, and the components are generally fairly lightweight. So generally you're not going to get that. And these other things you can ignore because these things are, other than the calculation time limit, they're things that only really come up when uh, when I'm developing. They don't come up for you as a user. Let's see, what other things do we have? Oh, negative offsets. Very rare, but I came across it recently, and I'm going to have to show you how that works. So if we pull up, what's that indicator code? That Ichimoku. Oh, geez, I can't remember the thing. I can't remember. Oh man, what is that thing called? I'm going to pause for a second and so you're not watching me try and remember this thing. So here it is, the Ichimoku cloud. And um the one that people turn a lot of stuff off because it's too much to look at for them. So I want you to see something interesting about this cloud. One of the signals coming out of this, I'm sorry for bringing code up, but it's the best and only way, about the only way to show you this, what's going on. So if you have a look here, lead line, okay, there's a thing here where we get a negative offset. There you go. See, offset here is negative displacement +1. And this actually ends up being a negative number. Displacement is 26. So 26 plus 1 is negative 25 because it's negative 26 plus 1. So that negative number visually shifts that particular output, and the one it's on is, what's it called? Lagging span. So if you look at the lagging span here, we'll go over here to lagging span, this one here. If you try to pick that number up, it will not be in the same place in the code that it is visually on the chart, because TradingView has no mechanism to project the future back into the past, and for good reason. That's called repainting and stuff like that, and it's a way of getting false signals. But the problem is you can do it visually even if you can't do it in the data. So if we pick that number up, it will say, hey, this triggered or this was above this at this point in time, and it'll be completely different what it's saying to what you'll see on this mess of a chart. Oh, it's so much better to look at. So keep that in mind, that if you're seeing signals and what you're seeing on the screen just does not match what you're seeing, and when you're picking up signals through putting components together, what have you, just see if you're getting a negative offset on the plot. And if you are, you just can't do what's happening visually. So you may have to let that one go. Now, you can pick up anything else on this indicator because it's the only thing that's got a negative offset. And they give it a negative offset because they can't do it with data. They can only do it visually, and that offset is a visual thing only. I do have a component called delay. So here you see it's called signal delay. And you can run this into signal delay, and you can run the other signal that it's matching up. And you can get the two things to match up, but they'll match up with each other properly, but they won't match up with what you would expect to see visually on the chart. And so maybe from a data point of view, it can still do what you want to do, but from a visual point of view, it might be off, and you have to make that judgment call. So that's a limitation, is we cannot do the visual negative offset thing in data because TradingView simply will not allow it. That's a hard stop. Another issue, well, it's not an issue, it's just something to be aware of. Maybe I should call this an aware ofs. This number here can be different to this number here. It depends on the trading system, because my system can open and close on certain numbers that TradingView has trouble with. Not that strategy tester can't open and close exactly where I open and close, but to make it do that, I have to let it become the, as I would call it, the arbiter of truth, which means I'm relying on it for all calculations, all signals, and everything else. If I use it the way I'm using it, where it's just another output, and go ahead and look at the, if you haven't been through um, uh, the user guide already, I'll just call it user guide for want of a better term. Go ahead and look on the section called, I can't remember the name of the section off the top of my head. So I'm going to look it up here. Is it just above this? Below this. Profit and loss graphing. There's several ways of getting that profit and loss data. Have a look through that thing to get more detail. But yeah, these numbers may not be identical to these numbers, and sometimes they can be. It can be absolutely identical. But sometimes when my thing can be a little bit more precise than I can make TradingView do when I'm using it as a visual after the fact tool instead of an arbiter of truth. So keep that in mind. But it's a good little test. I mean, if they're wildly off, like if this was 1,000 and this was 20,000, you might have to go, what's going on here? But if it's just if they're that small off, well, you could say that's 2 to 1 and there might be a problem, but not really. You can look at this and go, yeah, they're pretty much good enough with each other. So you could use it as a bit of a guide if you think there might be something going on, or, you could just look at it and say, hey, look, as long as these two are both in profit, two different models saying the same thing, that's a good sign. You can kind of look at it that way. And because we haven't got lots and lots of people using this yet, it's just like a small group of us. We haven't got enough data yet on that one, but as more and more people use it, we'll get more and more of a sense of that. And they'll put a kind of a standard thing out about how to look at this. And I think that's all the gotchas and issues and things that I can think of at the moment or that I've come across. As you can tell, some of them should go away as TradingView fixes things. Oh, there is one more. There is one more, and that is sometimes when you make a change, Nexus, or even one of these things, I notice it's not just Nexus, but any indicator can just start spinning and never update. Um, the workaround for that is the same as the workaround for a lot of things in TradingView. Go up here, save your layout. If it just says unnamed or something, because you never bother to give it a name, give it a name. Then come over here. Whoops, didn't mean to hit that. Refresh your browser, and that'll fix it. This is a fairly recent thing. TradingView has been getting lost a little bit. I'm sure they'll fix it. That I'm sure many people have been affected because I've had two other people come up with the same thing I've seen. So I have little doubt that that will get resolved soon enough. So yeah, just be aware. If it's spinning for too long, it's not giving any errors, it's not timing out, it's just spinning. Um, Save, refresh, and it'll probably fix it. And that's everything I think that we've come across so far. Thank you. Again, I'm getting in the habit of saying thank you at the end. Maybe I got to find something new or different.